Ah, Fatalis, what a magnificently frustrating son of a bitch you were to fight. And guess what? I have no regrets. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got one thing to confess. I love Fatalis a lot. Without a doubt, this is one of the greatest experiences I've had, not just in Monster Hunter, but of all video games I've played. And that isn't an exaggeration. There are few fights that gave me the same sense of dread, excitement, awe, frustration, perseverance, and ultimately joy and satisfaction that this fight gave me. In case you've missed my video where I explain the main topics I'll be discussing about boss fights, I'll put a link in the description and something for you to click on, so you can check it out. But for now, let's jump right into analyzing Fatalis' atmosphere, challenge, and satisfaction to see what makes him a good boss fight. Where to begin with Fatalis' atmosphere? This guy has got a lot of history in the Monster Hunter universe, appearing in its very first game all the way back in 2004 as an online-only endgame boss. However, even though Fatalis has a long history in the Monster Hunter franchise, I'll be looking at him under the scope of Iceborne only, assuming that we know nothing of Fatalis. Our first hints to his existence come outside the game, but is nonetheless worth mentioning due to the community reaction to it, and that is in the 15th anniversary photograph, which features this legendary creature looming in the background, gazing away from us, menacing, foreboding, as if hidden in plain sight. Speculation for his appearance in-game went wild, but there was not a single word of confirmation until over a year later. But let's take a step back for a second. What are Elder Dragons exactly? We learn in Monster Hunter World from NPCs that Elder Dragons are exceptionally dangerous creatures. While most monsters are peaceful and are only hunted when they begin to get out of control, Elder Dragons hold the power to change entire ecosystems. They are described as disasters, cataclysms, living, breathing forces of nature, and it certainly shows. The environment itself typically changes or shifts whenever an Elder Dragon is present. They are unable to be captured and are typically associated with some of the game's most dangerous and challenging endgame content. Every one of them is given a wonderful design and a dangerous toolkit that demands hunters learn them or pay the price. But Fatalis is a little more than just any ordinary Elder Dragon you can find roaming around. What of the Black Dragons, the so-called dangerous first-class monsters? In World, our first encounter with one is with Alatreon, whose mere presence causes panic to ensue within the Commission, and is described as a symbol of destruction, where fear is instilled by uttering its name, to the point where most records of its existence have been burned. And we go face to face with this catastrophic force in a climactic, explosive battle that divided the community unlike any other content so far in World, but is nonetheless quite a thrilling battle. Alatreon is a fantastic fight. But we're here to talk about Fatalis. So what does bringing up Alatreon have to do with him? Well, it's because this is our first encounter with a Black Dragon in the context of World, a dangerous first-class monster. It's a pain in the ass, its presence sends everyone into a panic, and we're left with ominous dread as to what could be out there that's worse. And then, Fatalis. A monster shrouded in mystery, whose very appearance is causing natural disasters across the world, rumored to fell an entire kingdom overnight. The stakes and power of the Elder Dragons continue to rise, until finally we are met with what is essentially the god of all monsters in this universe. This is the atmosphere that's being set up. A dark, bleak, unnaturally purple sky, an ancient castle that is left in destructive ruins, an encounter with history itself, and a choir that sings about the end to us all. Fatalis is built up as a force that is unstoppable, ruthless, and is the epitome of all challenges we have faced so far. But even as we stare death straight in its eyes, we are reassured that we have the skills necessary to fell it. Fatalis' atmosphere sets up its challenge to be unlike anything we've faced before. Is it? Absolutely. The Fatalis fight, along with Alatreon, were both met with some criticism for being too difficult on their release. And I won't sugarcoat the fact that initially, I believed Fatalis was a little too much. But after fighting him time and time again, and inevitably achieving my long-sought victory, it became clear that this just wasn't the case. Fatalis is a wonderful challenge, and is something that endgame bosses should aspire to be like. The hurdle it takes to best the likes of Ruiner Gigante, Xeno'jiiva, Sharish Valda, and other Elder Dragons is insubstantial compared to what it requires to take out Fatalis for the first time. It requires your absolute best, and there should be nothing less for a game's ultimate challenge than forcing a player to give it their all. The tight 30-minute timer, plus his beefy health, means there's no time for playing cowardly, being too defensive, or slacking off. But at the same time, Fatalis will easily punish greed with insane damage and send players carting back if they dare underestimate him. It's a constant back and forth of each party throwing everything they can at each other. Fatalis will make players learn his attack patterns or pay the price. He will force them to consider his openings or punish them for pushing too hard. And he will remind them to constantly be aware of their surroundings and position lest he take advantage of the situation. Monster Hunter is about learning what the beast you're fighting is capable of, what its weaknesses are, and how to take advantage of its openings, and using the environment to one's advantage. Fatalis embodies every fundamental of Monster Hunter superbly, in a fight that pushes players past their very limits, and won't stand for anything less than their best. Of course, this sort of challenge shouldn't go unrewarded. The narrative satisfaction of Fatalis is quite short-lived, but is not the focal point of a game whose story is secondary to its gameplay. To put simply, hunters have defeated the best of the best, overcome the odds, and managed to save all they hold dear in a fight that would have certainly ended in their demise, getting well-earned praise for their victories. And of course, I cannot forget to mention how proof of a hero plays once the Dragonator is used. What was once a choir singing about your demise, and how the end was coming in the form of Fatalis, it's as though the devs of the game itself are cheering you on, applauding and shouting, "You can do it! Don't give up! Fight on!" Now in terms of mechanical satisfaction, that's the true joy in Fatalis. It's no secret that a majority of players struggle to beat Fatalis for the first time, whether they were by themselves or in a group, but with that immense challenge comes an unparalleled level of satisfaction, a well-earned victory against an obstacle that was designed to push people past their limits. The key here is pushing people past it. Fatalis doesn't just intend to push people to their limits, but rather make them better. Every subsequent kill after the first becomes easier, but it's the joy felt in that first one or those first few of finally overcoming the odds that makes Fatalis a fight worth remembering. Fatalis is a monster unlike any other, and I pray for his return and rise. His setup, while brief, sets the stage perfectly for a fight that's designed to be the penultimate experience in a 3-year-long journey. He is built up to be a confrontation of catastrophic levels, a foe unlike anything the hunter has faced before, even Alatreon. And he certainly delivers with a fight that will kick players while they're down, demanding they get better, smarter, and be their very best. Unlike some other monsters throughout the game, Fatalis is not one that will bend or break easily. But of course, with the great challenge of a legendary creature comes the immense satisfaction of defeating it. The desire to see it done again and again, to collect his armor and show this big bad dragon who the real monster is. Fatalis is my entry to this series of what makes a good boss fight, and I can't think of a more worthy candidate for being the first analysis than the Black Dragon himself.